Welcome back to the Artie Lange Show. My first guest, real funny guy. He'll be at Caroline's this upcoming weekend, correct?
This weekend,
This weekend coming up. Greatest club in the country, the great Caroline's on Broadway. I've been there plenty of times myself. The great Maz Jobrani.
Thanks, man. How you doing?
Now, you insulted by Mike? I'm sure you are.
No, man, I get that all the time, man. It's funny.
But I feel Mike's doing it sarcastically.
No, I'm not at all, buddy. I'm so sorry.
I feel you're doing it to poke fun.
No, I get poked fun enough of, so I don't mess with anyone.
Well, I'll tell you what happened with me. When I found out, like when I started hearing wrestlers use the term jabroni, which sounds like my last name, Jobrani.
Right, that was a big Italian thing. My uncles used to say it, too.
Yeah, I didn't get, you know, what was interesting was because I was born in Iran, and my dad back in Iran used to be involved with, like, the Wrestling Federation. Not like WWE, but, like, Greco-Roman stuff.
Well, one of the most famous guys, the Iron Sheik.
Iron Sheik,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, right.
So I actually, when I started hearing people say jabroni, jabroni, I honestly thought that my dad had pissed off a wrestler in Iran, and that guy had come to America and turned my name into a derogatory term. So I looked it up, and you know what jabroni stands for, right?
What?
Jabroni, wrestlers call each other jabronis, means you're a day jobber, means you're one of those guys who doesn't even have a name. You're one of the guys in the uniform.
Right.
It's just your day job, so they call you a jabroni.
Yeah, which is a major insult, because you're insulting, with Italians, too, you're insulting a man's work ethic. Sort of, yeah.
And it's also saying you're a nobody.
Right.
And the funny thing was, I came around my one of the specials I'd done. I actually got the Iron Sheik to come and be in my cold open. And
he's always a home run with the Iron Sheik. I know him really well from the Howard Stern show.
Yeah.
He was on all the time.
Yeah, and he's great. And so it was funny because he's from Iran. So I thought the whole idea was that before the show starts, I was going to chicken out. I wasn't going to go on stage. And he just shows up, gives me a pep talk, and I go.
Yeah.
So I thought he'd get the name right. Because he's from and it's on YouTube. You can watch. He has he's like Maz Jobrani. I go Jobrani. He goes Jabroni. I go Jobrani. He goes, what am I, a school teacher? He goes, get out there.
He got everything wrong, but I mean that was part of his charm,
yeah.
if you want to say that. But he would, yeah, he would, you know, the worst insult, of course, a lot of these old school guys is to call you effeminate.
Yeah.
As a man, you know, and he would say, he would go, "You are effeminate, worse than a Michael Jackson." He would say, "Michael Jackson, you are like a little woman, worse than a Michael Jackson." Yeah, so entertaining, but
yeah, funny stuff.
So
man.
now, where did you actually grow up in the States?
So I grew up in Northern California. Marin County was beautiful.
Wow.
And it was interesting because
that's highfalutin.
Highfalutin, man. We came to America. My dad had a lot of money when we first came, and then he lost a lot of it.
What happened?
Man,
Niners didn't cover?
Niners didn't cover, man. It was the over/under. It was that Dick Clark was it? Dwight Clark.
The catch.
Dick Clark, the catch.
Yeah, believe me, a lot of people from Newark lost money on that one.
Yeah. Well, no, it was actually what happened was my dad in Iran had been like a self-made millionaire. He had a business, like an electric company. So my dad, whenever I describe my dad, he was kind of like Vito Corleone. Like he was the godfather. People would go to him for favors, and he would always take care of stuff for them. So he was this guy. Back in Iran, if that's how you were kind of untouchable. Like you weren't going to lose your money. Then he came to America, and rather than doing like the American way of like putting money away in a 401k, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And like,
I know what you're saying.
Yeah. You know? So instead of doing that, first he started buying properties in Marin. And he turned around and sold them.
Not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea.
Marin County was some of the most valuable real estate in the country.
It's amazing. And he turned around, sold a lot of that, and was making good money. And then he goes, well, I'll just buy a lot more. And then it was the early 80s, the recession hit. So the interest rates went up. He couldn't get rid of them. So then suddenly he just started bleeding money. And from there, it just, you know, the rest was...
got in trouble.
Yeah.
Got in trouble, yeah. But, you know, that's what you do. You take a gamble. You take a risk. I'm that kind of guy, too. You like to gamble with what you had, and unfortunately, that's how I am.
Well, yeah, my dad was also a big gambler as well. So he'd be at like casinos, like I just remember when we first came to America, every place we'd go, like we first came to New York for like a month or two, and my dad was thinking of settling down and stuff, and my mom was like, no, we're going to California, it's warmer. So we went out. First we went to stayed with some friends in Reno, and every time we'd be somewhere, we'd stay at a hotel. My dad loved gambling, and he'd always come down and be like, he's like, son, we're thinking of buying buying the hotel. And I'm like, really? He's like, we're going to buy the, I was like, great. We're going to buy the MGM in Reno.
We're going to buy the hotel.
And the next,
Son, I've had a great idea. We're going to buy the hotel. Dad, that's a bad idea. You're worse than a Michael Jackson.
You're worse than then he became a wrestler. Yeah. We're going to put your head instead of a lion. You will be the MGM lion. Can you imagine?
But, you know, listen, some people might say, you know, the guy took risks and stuff. That sounds like a fun guy. I would love for that to be my father.
Dude.
Like, you know, at least it's not boring.
Dude, my dad always used to say himself, he's like, he passed when he was 76. He goes, look, I'm in my 70s. He goes, I've lived like 700 years.
Right.
Like, he lived large.
Yeah.
And no, you're totally right, man. I totally, you know, man, he was larger than life, man. It was crazy.
My father was the same way.
Yeah.
You know, and he took risks, and the risks, you know, it blew it for him in the end. But, you know, and I think I inherited a lot of those risk-takings because I just happened to be lucky enough to take a risk in a profession where you can make enough money to where you could last longer. I mean, unfortunately, this book is far from over, the book of my life. And I don't know. I see myself dying broke. But I listen, I want my last check to bounce. That's the old saying. You know? The last check I write to bounce. But I don't know. Did you get that feeling, though? Growing up, do you feel like you got screwed a little bit, or did you?
No, not at all.
Did you get the good times?
No, first of all, I got the good times. First of all, secondly, I think I learned a lot from my dad because I mean, like, it's actually interesting because Italians and Persians and I think Middle Easterners, a lot of Middle Easterners have something. They have a lot in common.
Absolutely,
they have a lot in common. And this whole thing of what you were just talking about, like, first of all, like the food culture, all that stuff, but like taking care of each other. So when we go out, like, it was a shock to me the first time I went out with, because the American way, a lot of my American friends were like, you'd go out and the guy'd be like, all right, look, I had the grilled cheese and the iced tea.
Yeah, my father never did that.
None of that. My dad was just like.
It wasn't manly to him. Yeah.
No. And so what happened with me was I think generosity was one of the most important things to me. Even so when I first, when I was starting stand-up, I was working as an assistant in an advertising agency.
Yeah.
And I go to like drinks with like some of the owners of the place, and I'd be buying drinks. And you know, I was like, I got to pay for this, even though I had like $20,000 credit card debt. I was like, I'm putting on my credit card. So that's things I learned from my dad. But at the same time, you know, now that I got kids, I got two young kids, I got a 5-year-old, 2-year-old. I've learned from him also to not be fully on that side. Like, I do have a 401k now.
You have to. Like my father never had credit cards. It was cash.
Cash.
It was like, you know, because women had credit cards. Even writing checks. It was like, you know, you felt like that was some. My father had some abroad does.
Oh yeah.
And of course, you know, but the other thing abroad does is, you know, save money.
Yeah, save it. Yeah, that's what my mom is bitter at him for sure.
Oh, but sure, yeah, my mother has some issues.
But here's the things you talk about. Like, you learn. Like, I remember later in his life, like he'd already lost a lot of his money. We went to dinner one night and we're sitting down, and the lady's sitting us down. And he pulls out whatever, like a 10 or a 20, and tips her just as the maitre d' sat us. Right. And I'm like, I go, Dad, what are you doing? You got to tip after. And he's like, what's the point? Yeah. He's like, I tip now. They take care of us.
That's
I'm
exactly.
Like, oh yeah.
That's a street way of thinking. They're like, you tip now because you get the service.
Yeah. What am I gonna tip on the way out? Gonna get high five or something?
Tip big, boys.
Give me an extra mint.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're right. You're right. I mean, it's how you roll. But you know, listen. It's a good philosophy if you're in show business and you're making good money. But with my father, not the best philosophy to over tip in front if you know, install antennas for a living. You gotta climb a lot of roofs to cover that nut.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna take a break. We'll be back. More Maz Jobrani, who's gonna be at Caroline's this upcoming weekend. Back after this.
The Artie Lange Show, weeknights on Audience, only on DirecTV.